the secret chiefs of the Third Order are supposed to be ascended masters. And the idea there is they are human beings who have, similar to bodhisattvas in Eastern philosophy, they are at a level of enlightenment that they are capable of going on to Buddhahood, or whatever the Western equivalent of that would be. But they choose to remain in order to be able to assist other people in their development. You, if I had to guess, I would guess you're being guided by the Third Order.
Alan Greenfield has been a ghost that's been hovering over this case since the very beginning.
It's just such a big part of this case, you know. Here he is.
We were looking into Alan Greenfield from the very start. I had originally reached out to Alan when the Hellier stuff had first popped off because I wanted to get his impressions on what was going on. I wanted to know if he thought that Terry Rist had actually emailed me. And he was of the mindset that it was probably a disinformation agent. So now I've got all these ideas floating around in my head from people who say we're doing a magic ritual. I think if there's anyone we're doing a magic ritual for, it would probably be Greenfield, right? So we're getting ready to go and meet him for the first time and really see what he thinks about this case. I would love to get your opinion on what you think was happening to us in Hellier. What is still happening to us with this case? What do you think is going on?
Speculation based on experience, and that's the way I will label this. I think you were guided at every step of the way, and those steps are not concluded yet. I think you are being led towards something. If I had to guess at what it was to access to a greater public the very things that we've been discussing here. I did some of what people who don't understand Kabbalah call numerology with it, and the number which is a key to those people who fancy themselves magicians, 93, shows up repeatedly and with gusto, along with several other suggestions that just the name Hellier contained, and it took me about 30 seconds to come up with a list, which I sent to you because I thought it was very significant.
So according to Greenfield, the number 93 is what Hellier equals out to. And to him, that seemed extremely significant. He typically takes funny names, he says funny names, and he runs them through the cipher. So those can be names of weird towns, alien contactee names, things like that. So the first thing he does, he throws Hellier into the cipher, and he gets the value of 93. Immediately, that makes him perk up because he was a Thelemite. And Thelemites, following the work of Aleister Crowley, the number 93 is a sacred number to them. It means both love and will, two things that are very important in Crowley's system. He says that the name Hellier equals out to like words like Babylon and Christ. Christ stuck out to me immediately because David Christie is the name of the guy who experienced the goblins. Greenfield said Hellier was an extremely rich yield. Let's talk about that for a second, because that was one of my other questions. Hellier resonated with the magical community in a way that none of us expected. We had no clue it would resonate with them, because I feel like they saw something in it that maybe we didn't. And a lot of them have come to us and said, sometimes in so many words, you guys realize you're doing an initiation, right? You realize you're doing some kind of a ritual. Is that something that, as a magician, is that something that you see happening? And if that's the case, who do you think could be doing that, and to what purpose? Should we stop doing, if it is a ritual of some kind, should we stop?
Well, my opinion is you should keep going until you reach a point where you feel that it's detrimental to your physical and emotional health and that of your companions. Yeah, I had not thought of the term initiation, but I think it is a magical process. Again, the Campbell thing, the hero's return. The hero goes, encounters the numinous and the frightful, and then returns the better being at some point. But that might be 20 years or 40 years. Or it might be an hour and a half, or it might be tonight. Yeah. I can't predict that. Who is behind it? Probably what is a better question to ask. And I think whatever the source of these phenomena is or are, I'm not sure if it's multiple or singular, it's designed, I think, to bring people who are involved in it to a higher level of understanding of the nature of reality.
You mentioned earlier you were initially hesitant to say that it would have been Terry that had contacted us. Like, I think even in the original emails that we exchanged, you even said like it could be a disinformation agent of some kind. Mm-hmm. And you know, how do you feel about that now?
I'm more inclined to think that it is the guy that calls himself Terry Arist. And the reason that I'm inclined to think that is because I tend to associate productive path-initiating phenomena with authenticity. And what Terry had to say to me, and hopefully what I said to him, was as authentic as it gets.
Do you think Terry's still kicking? You think he's still around?
He should be. He would be 75. I would say he's almost certainly still around. And when you got that letter, I'm reasonably sure he was still around. I haven't heard from him in years. And
do you think there is a way we could contact him?
You look into that in an episode and ask him to get in contact with you. But you'd better talk to me off camera about having like a code word or something, because otherwise everybody and their cousin who is a trickster, I mean, Gray and Jim have gone on to that great saucer in the sky, but there are other tricksters out there waiting, and you want to distinguish Terry from somebody else. He might even tell you his name. I don't know, because I haven't been involved in some of the sports that we were involved in way back when. So,
do you have any insight into his sort of strange spelling, his seemingly intentional misspellings, the way he writes in sort of that broken code?
It is significant. Hellier. Let's run that through the secret cipher of the Euphonauts, and we'll see if if you take it as two separate words, if it yields some different results. That's wild guessing and unlikely, but hell is an interesting thing because that was the first thing that I noticed. They're going to Hellier.
Going to the underworld. Part of the hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
When we started this project, we emailed both David and Terry, and both of the email addresses bounced. They were either deactivated or discarded somehow. We got nothing back. We got the mailer demon that emails back.
This is an impressionistic thing. It's not based on anything. I know Terry spent some time in Canada. I believe that was mentioned in one of the interviews, wasn't it? That he went to one of the medicine wheels.
Big medicine wheel. Wyoming, I thought.
It might have been. I don't know. I know it was at a summer or winter solstice, and we're about to hit a summer solstice.
Yeah, he was doing a serious ritual, something.
Yeah, well, he was very into that, but so am I really. But it's just not something that I obsess on because I don't think Sirius is a well. He said it himself. It's a blue star. It means it's a hot, relatively new star. So it's unlikely, even if you accept extraterrestrial notions, it's unlikely to be a home base.
Well, one of the interesting things about that email address is that David's is still inactive, but Terry's was reactivated.
Same account?
Same account.
It sounds like him. Sounds like his MO. And it also, this is, again, guessing. I think he wants to meet you. On his terms, in his time. He's probably you're gonna be led to this or that location and is gonna be there. Now, whether he'll play games with you or not, I don't know. Games would be, he pumps the gas into your car. And he's wearing an out-of-date Sinclair uniform or something. That's his type of thing.
This is the unedited true coordinates. And this is a more deciphered version, if that helps. And
That's probably better for me.
those are the numbers.
Does the number 31 hold any significance to you?
Of course it does. I mean, I edited Frater Akkad's Liber 31, the only authorized edition of it ever published.
What do you think the significance of having 31 on this? I mean, it's huge.
I think it's trying to convey knowledge of magical ritual, or it's trying to display knowledge of magical ritual, or knowledge of me, or knowledge of Frater Akkad, who was Canadian. 31 is a number also that has the kind of magical significance that it's like 93. It's one of those numbers that shows up in magical patterns, mostly in thelemic circles. It has to do with 777, 31, Liber 31. There was a book. Terry was a numbers cruncher, so I think that, and also a much more technically adroit person than I am. I mean, I can turn on a computer, and as long as it works, I'm fine. He was familiar with what would come to be called hacking. Very familiar.
So these numbers, right, were sort of something that had crossed Greg's mind, I'm sure, thousands of times now as we've gone through over the last 6 or 7 years. One of the other things I did before I tell you the other search is you break down the numbers. No matter what quadrant you split the numbers into, they all become either 3 or 9.
93.
Which is
Hellier.
interesting. Yeah.
You are adding to the credential. You're still set on a path, and there's got to be some reasoning involved because there is this type of lineal stuff. It takes a pretty good amount of trouble to concoct something. Well, I mean, it looks like there's a sophisticated construct built on stuff that I would understand.
Yeah.
Apparently, you understood it, but I mean, do you know that 93 is a significant number to Thelemites, which I'm not anymore?
Back then, I wouldn't have. Absolutely not. I mean, that's what's always confused me, is this idea that these dumb kids with a dumb website, Ghost Hunters Incorporated, or me in particular. Like, I was a ghost hunter. At the time this stuff arrived, I had no context for any of this stuff. I do now. I've learned stuff now in the last 2 years in particular that I'd never would have known. I'd never have any impetus to figure out.
Well, there's a jargon in Thelemic circles that you would have to be in those circles because nobody writes books about those circles. Those are immediately recognizable to me. I always thought that it was a little goofy to do that. You know, it's like the Thelemites will greet each other with 93, 93, love and will, both add to 93 in some kind of Kabbalah, not English Kabbalah at all.
Is there something that you think we should take a closer look at? Because again, we didn't feel like we really found anything significant. I mean, maybe they're not GPS coordinates, but
no, my guess is it's not GPS coordinates. My guess is that it's a code, and I'm not a code breaker, notwithstanding what I've written on, and I'm perfectly willing to take the number and look. I don't even think the SLUF is the pejorative term because it was another pejorative term that's similar to that actually was very commonly used Vietnam era. I speak from direct knowledge.
So one of the things that you talk about in Secret Cipher is Terry discusses meeting Indrid Cold. He said that he used the cipher to find clues, to find out where Indrid was living at the time, and he described him. Do you know the name of the town where that happened? Because I know that he didn't want to talk about it, and it was kind of...
I'm going to embarrass myself here. I was told, I don't remember. I do remember that it was on the Ohio River, further south than the, for lack of a better term, Mothman area. You know, it's south of Point Pleasant, south. But I don't remember the name of the town. It was a little town.
The name of the town was Ashland. Does that sound familiar?
Yes. Where, can you show me on a map? I mean, I wouldn't swear by it, but
Sure.
Because...
Do you know or remember the general kind of time frame that Terry might have been pursuing these Mothman connections in Cipher?
It would have had to have been after the encounter with the guy that wrote that kind of crazy book.
But he wasn't, you know, when you talked to him, 94 or whatever, it wasn't, you didn't get the impression it was super recent to that or particularly long before that?
I had the impression that it was long before that. Long before I had any, involvement with Terry. Probably in the late 60s, early 70s. That's a guess. I didn't ask. Again, it's getting him to sit down for a couple of interviews was a major coup because he was not the interview type.
I didn't want to put words in Greenfield's mouth, but for him to say the late 60s or early 70s definitely seemed to match. The 60s doesn't really make too much sense. The Mothman story was still happening, Vietnam was still happening, but the 70s pegs everything. Woody Derenberger's book came out in 71. The Mothman Prophecies came out in 75. Cipher 6 was broken by the occult community in 1974, allowing them to apply the secret cipher of the Euphonauts that Greenfield theorizes about. And the Wagon Wheel Restaurant was open from 74 to 78. So for Greenfield to say the 70s, that's very specifically the window that we were looking at with Terry.
What would you say to someone who said, well, it's obvious, Alan Greenfield is Terry Wrist?
No, that's not so.
Yeah.
Part of the that was got a lot of publicity because of the name at the very beginning. But I mean, people around here knew him. I can refer you to. I don't know if they talk to you because they're all political people from most of them no longer active in that kind of circle and caring to do that. But it wasn't like I knew him privately away from these other people. It was a whole affinity group that he was known by. And if he were me, then he lived a more adventurous life than I've lived.
I went into that interview thinking that Alan Greenfield could very well be Terry Wrist. I did not feel that way when we left. I didn't see it.
Going into the meeting, I was half convinced that we were about to meet Terry Wrist. That's an individual that Greenfield created himself and sort of pretended to have an interview with himself in the back of his book so that he could get out some information more about his footwork that he's been doing. But after the interview, and after we had done research on things like Ashland, it's pretty clear to me that Terry is a separate individual. Greenfield pointed something out that brought us back to some of the information that Terry was talking about, where he's saying that he believes that this case is being guided by the secret chiefs of the Third Order.
The Third Order is supposed to be totally benevolent and like that, although they can be pretty severe. You, if I had to guess, I would guess you're being guided by the Third Order. It's a term out of the AA/Golden Dawn universe.
Given what you know of the Third Order, if that hypothesis, which I think is interesting, it hadn't really directly crossed my mind. What would the motivation of the Third Order be in guiding us on documenting this case?
To have a series of initiations. And an initiation is the following. It is the creation of a crisis and the resolution of the crisis and the assimilation of that crisis resolution dialectic. What I think very strongly is that if you continue to do what you're doing, things will fall in your path.
One of the biggest goals, I think, of this season is trying to contact extraterrestrials, or ultra-terrestrials for a better term. Would you recommend it? Is that a wise thing to try and attempt?
You seem to have a freak-out level that's just over the horizon. And nothing can freak you out more than that kind of contact, because it's never what you expect.
About 6 years ago, I got this idea. Whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, you can tell me. That we might be able to instigate an alien abduction. It worked in an interesting way. I've felt now for the last few years that there's a non-physical aspect to abduction experiences. Is that something that you think would be accurate?
Oh, yeah.
I think that there's a place that people go that their body can still be here, but on some other place, some other plane, they're going through something. They're meeting somebody, they're having some sort of an experience that is just as real as anything that's in this room. So we thought, what if we do the reverse? What if we do the reverse of a regression session? What if we instead put this idea in someone's head via hypnotism that they're going to go somewhere and meet someone and see what happens? We did that. There were no leading phrases other than there's a light in the sky, it's in a form you've never seen exist before, and you know you're going to be taken on that light. It was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I watched this guy sit there. A friend of mine wasn't supposed to be the guy who was supposed to go. It just happened to be him. and he just went somewhere else and recounted this entire experience.
And now all of a sudden, I expected Nick to get picked, honestly. And
Why do you feel nervous?
I don't know. My mind, I don't know. Vulnerable.
Yeah, I know. I totally
Vulnerable.
understand that.
That's
I
what it
totally
was.
understand that.
You're absolutely in control of yourself throughout this entire process. I cannot control you. Any suggestion that is given, you make freely reject. I wouldn't give you a suggestion that I didn't find helpful or meaningful for the process. Okay.
Okay.
Are you willing to go?
Yeah.
Outstanding. It's good to have you.
Thanks.
Look at your hand. Look at a spot on your hand. Look at the lines on your hand. As your hand draws nearer and nearer to your face, go ahead and focus on your eyes. And as you focus on your eyes, allow your eyes to close. As you close your eyes, close your eyes. Let your head sink forward and drift. You can ignore the environment around as you go ahead and drift and relax. Relax in spite of all the environment. Focus on my voice and only my voice as you allow yourself to relax. Imagine you see those strange lights on the horizon. Lights that you can't identify as plane or helicopter. Or anything that you've ever seen before. In a pattern in which you didn't think was possible to fly. How many lights are there?
4.
Notice those lights coming closer and closer. That light comes closer and closer to the group. You know something's about to happen. Something that you may not have even thought possible before. But it's become clear that this group is going to be taken. Could you describe what happens?
We're just... The doors... There's like a door. It's there's like a light coming out from the inside of it. I don't want to go in, but I feel like everybody else is going. It's really bright. I feel like I should be telling people we shouldn't do this, but nobody is listening. And like the light is almost blinding, like it's hurting my eyes. And I can't really see anything. I know that there's metal below, but I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to go any forward, but nobody's stopping.
Is it still just you in the group, or are there other things there?
No, it's just the group. We're in a single file. And we're just walking on this hallway. And like I said, there's nothing. It's very bright. We're just single file, walking.
You feel compelled to move forward, or is someone guiding you?
I feel like I have to move forward. I don't want to. I want to go back outside.
Do you feel like you can turn around? Try to turn around now. What happens?
I can't.
You can't. Do you feel safe?
I don't know. Like I don't know what's happening.
Jason, I'm going to grab your arm and hold it up. I'll be grabbing you at the wrist, so just relax. I'm grabbing you now. Put the arm up here and leave it there. Allow that arm to drop only as slowly or as quickly as time passes on that ship. As those memories assimilate into your mind of what that group has experienced. And as time passes by, your arm will slowly or quickly sink to your lap as you acquire whatever experience that is. You'll be able to relate that experience back to us. Very good. Now the group's back in that same place outside. A little rattled. Take a look at your watch or your phone or whatever time it is. What day is it?
Sunday?
And what day do you remember going there?
Thursday?
Is it still nighttime or daytime?
It's daytime.
Take a look at your group. Is everyone there?
There's a girl missing.
Do you know the girl?
No.
Does anyone else realize that someone's missing?
No. Everybody seems really confused. Confused, I don't really remember a lot. My head feels weird.
Your head feels weird? It's because there's a wall that may have been built. We can take a peek behind that wall if you'd like to see.
Is it safe?
It's safe.
I guess so.
What's behind the wall, Jason?
It's more of that hallway.
More of that hallway? Could we fast forward to something more specific?
There's a lot of conveyor belts and we're just standing on them. And we're being moved around like cattle.
Have you seen anything yet? Anything other than your fellow group members?
There are a lot of machines in this room. But nothing I recognize. I think there's somebody behind. It's like a like a thin wall. It's lit up, but all I can see is shadows. And they're moving around, but I can't see what they are, who they are.
At any point in those memories, can you see who they are?
Yes.
What do they look like?
They're very pale. They look sickly. But they don't seem like they're not acting sick. They're very quick moving, very fluid. Kind of like when an octopus moves its tentacles, the motion is very much the same. I don't think they have bones.
Have they done anything to anyone in the group?
Yeah, there are people on tables, but I can see people's faces, but I can't see what they're doing to their bodies. I'm worried they're gonna come to me. I don't want this to happen.
Jason, Grandpa. So on the count of 5, I'll have you open your eyes and reorient to the room. 1. Starting to notice our limbs a little bit more. 2. Knowing that anything that happens, you can handle it. It's just a matter of perspective. 3. Feeling free, grateful that you've had this experience. 4. Knowing that it was nice to experience Grandpa, right? And 5. Welcome back.
Oh.
How you feel?
We interviewed him beforehand. He did not believe in extraterrestrials. He didn't believe in any of that type of stuff. We interviewed him years later. Not only does he not remember the experience, but he's developed an intense fear of extraterrestrials and absolutely believes that they exist.
I'm sure you've thought of maybe he actually already had an experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's gone through my head too. What do you think of that as an experiment? Do you think that there's... So say he was not an experiencer previously. Mm-hmm. What do you think happened to him?
Well, there are two fundamental possibilities. If it was not a physical experience, then that tends to add credence to the notion that these experiences can be induced by a perfectly, ordinary, sinister, insensitive, cruel human being into another. Am I giving the impression that I think this is unethical? Yeah. I think it is. The other possibility is you tuned him in. Either of those could be true. Both of them cannot be true. So that you would have to have something within the experience that would validate one or the other, like a word. I want you to obtain a word from they can't speak, but you can imagine a word that you follow me, and then you run it through code again,
That is kind of the idea that our heads are in now, is to try that again, but with something like that. To bring something back that can validate the experience. That's something that I think we're all interested in trying and seeing. Do you think that is a smart idea?
I think it's a useful idea. Yeah, you need one validating element at least that tells you this is an objectively real experience that he's experiencing subjectively here and now.
Do you have anything to say to the larger Hellier audience? Is there anything that you wanted to get out there?
Don't try this at home.
And then after the interview, we got around to talking about the balloons.
When Strand went to the coordinates and didn't find anything there, the only thing that was in the spot was this old happy birthday balloon. And it was significant enough that Strand put it in his backpack to take it with him. And we just thought, well, that's weird. A year from that date, a friend of mine who I haven't seen in years and years and years and years, we're at a bar in California. I'm sitting there and I'm talking to him. And I tell him about, he's like, what did you guys find at the coordinates? You went to the coordinates, right? What did you find? And I said, well, it's weird. The only thing that we found at the coordinates was a deflated happy birthday balloon. And the dude started to shake. And he was like, oh my God. He's like, no. And he pulls his phone out and he shows me this video. He's walking, hiking through this forested area, this hill, and this silver balloon floats down to him. No idea where it comes from. Happened on the exact same date, and he's like, I was supposed to tell you that. Something happened. I'm supposed to tell you something. What that is, I don't know. Alex was convinced. He's like, there's something weird about this. He's like, you don't even understand. And he flips to his notebook and he shows me that, like, ask Greg and Dana about the balloon. Significance of balloon. And he said, man, I think I was supposed to show this to you. Like, this is a sign. You're supposed to take these balloons seriously.
Oh, I give you the message again. You're being guided. There may be nothing more to it. It may be somebody's birthday. Sure. That's significant.
Running the numbers later, I'd told Greenfield that the balloons happened on the same exact date. It was like a day or two off. But this particular part of February was starting to show a pattern that was shaping up over a span of years. This patch of dates in February seemed important because the wrist emails came in this time period. The Amy emails came in this time period, and both of the balloons showed up during this time period.
I mean, you're following a trail in the woods because there are marks on trees, funny marks on trees. Where it's leading, it to a pot of gold or to, or to
Grizzly death.
yes, a grisly death, or that was not what I was thinking, or a nuclear power plant, or a subterranean tunnel where aliens and humans are interacting in a very familiar pattern, or you don't know. But if you don't follow the path, if you ask who chipped away at these trees, you're missing the point. The point has got to be that the path leads somewhere. This is a gift to you. You're on the path, because if you weren't, you wouldn't have had this synchronicity.
Yeah.
Every synchronicity says you're on the path. If the synchronicities stop or they become vague, then you're off the path.
On the way back from Atlanta, I realized that Somerset was only like half an hour out of the way on our drive back to Cincinnati. So I suggested, if the idea is we're going to go there anyway, let's go. I'll show Karl and Connor the sights. I'll show them where Strand and I had scoped out. So we're driving down one of these back roads, middle of nowhere, one lane dirt road. There's really nowhere to go or to turn around on these roads. And we have to stop because there's literally a tree laying over the road. We can't go anywhere.
And the way that it crossed the road so perfectly and just covered the road felt so intentional to get our car to stop.
So Connor and I get out of the van and we walk over to see if we can move this tree. And as we are looking at this tree, we see a glinting at the base. And I said, "Don't tell me that's what I think it is."
It literally stopped us in our tracks to find a balloon.
God damn it.
What are the chances?
Are you hearing shit?
Did you not hear that?
Oh, we turned the car off. Is it musical?
Was it a cow?
It's like howl.
You guys notice?
How did this become a thing? I don't know.
Mr. Greenfield wouldn't shut up about it.
Yeah, bird shot. Windows up.
What I think very strongly is that if you continue to do what you're doing, things will fall in your path. You didn't seem to be really impressed by the two fucking balloons. And I'm really, that's like ding, 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 ding. Do everything with that because this is a gift. What do you get with the balloon? You get a present, and the two balloons is a present. It's saying, same day, something about this day is a birthday present to you. Don't throw it away.
balloon.
Of all the things for Greenfield to focus on.
I know.
Greenfield brought that up on his own like 4 times.
How do you not think that's a bigger deal?
Why don't you think the balloon's a big deal? Seems like a pretty significant sign.
Something blocked our path to show us a balloon, to make us pay attention to a balloon. Well, I mean, what's the context of finding it? It's a blocked path. It's a star?
Yeah.
This is Blue Star?
Blue star.
Right?
Well, happy birthday.
I see you've made it into the belly of the beast. Drop yourselves now and take your seats. Welcome to the opera in the well